Hello everybody and welcome to Tom's Garage Fix. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to change your oil cooler O-ring on your 2005 Infiniti G35 Coupe with the 3.5 litre VQ engine inside. So these are just some of the tools that you're going to need today. You're definitely ideally going to need a torque wrench here, so I picked this one up for around $30. I will put the link in the description to some of the tools that are needed in this video, e.g. this and the oil seal. So what are we going to need? Torque wrench, a funnel to put the oil in because you are going to lose a bit of oil during this install. Definitely some oil clamps. If you can get your oil filter off without using those, then that is a great thing to do. If you have it, a impact wrench or some sort of electronic tool to get the bolts off, much easier. If not, you can always use a hand tool with a basic 10mm socket adapter. A flathead screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver. You're going to need a 21mm socket and also a 10mm socket, the oil for the car, some safety gloves as well, ideally some degreaser if you just want to clean up the engine bay, and you are also going to need to take off the bottom under tray of the car along with the inner wheel arch and a little plate as well, which I'll show you here. So as you can see from this, we currently have this small plate off the inner wheel arch and the pan cover, the sort of protective tray that goes underneath the car. These are the things that you're going to need to take off to get to the oil filter. It will make your life so much easier if you put the effort in to take these off, take the wheel off, jack up the car, and you'll have a much easier time to get to the oil filter, which I'll show you in just a minute. But these are all the things that you're going to need to take off if you want to. It's a much better idea if you do take them off because it'll make your life easier taking this oil filter and the cooler off. So this is what your car looks like without the inner wheel arch on. Now I'm not going to show you how to take the inner wheel arch off because it is really self-explanatory. There's holes all around here that you simply unbolt / use the flathead screwdriver to take off and you're good to go. Now there is going to be a small panel about here that you're going to need to take off as well that gives you access to the oil filter, which is just back there, and as you can see I have folded this one away so we get even more access to the oil filter, which is just there, and this is the anti-roll bar there. Just to give you a reference, we are working on the passenger side of the car today. If you do have a Nissan 350Z or the equivalent VQ 3.5 litre engine, then please be sure to make sure that you get the correct oil seal for the car. I will, as I said at the beginning of the video, be putting the correct oil seal for a 2005 Infiniti G35 Coupe in the description below so you know exactly where to get it. So why don't we go ahead and I'll show you what exactly we're taking off. If you step underneath the car, you can see that this is the oil filter, and behind it you can see a silver ring that goes around it. That is the oil cooler. As you can see, the pipe leading into it right there. We're going to be taking that off. We're going to be taking the O-ring off of that, and this is going to prevent, as you can see, the oil leak that is coming from up there. So why don't we go ahead and jump in and get started. So now that we're underneath the car, as you can see, this is the oil filter now. If you haven't seen my previous video on how to change the oil on this particular car, go ahead and watch that. But what we're going to go ahead and do now is, in theory, this should come off with my hands because I hand tightened it before. And it doesn't need to be any tighter than that. So what we're going to go ahead and do is going to try and undo this right now. So now that we've got the oil filter off, I scrapped that idea. So now that we've got the oil filter off, just beware that you are going to lose some oil doing this. So be careful that you have something underneath to protect your garage floor or your driveway. And then we're going to slowly undo this. Oil is going to come out, don't worry too much about that. So as you can see, this is our oil cooler and this is the bolts that we're going to need. You're going to need a 22mm socket to get this off. Now I suggest using a breaker bar, but this shouldn't be on too hard. It should only be on around 32-34 foot-pounds of torque, so it's not going to be that difficult to take off, but still take into account that it may take a little bit of force to get off. So let's go ahead and take this off. Okay, we have now loosened the bolt. So now we can untighten it with our hands, and you will experience a bit more oil coming out, so don't worry about that. Just be aware that there will be oil coming out, and maybe have some sort of oil pan like I do underneath the car, catching all the oil so it doesn't make a huge mess. As you can see, our oil cooler is now free. There is the bolt that's holding it on, again 22mm. I'm going to put that to one side, and our O-ring is going to be behind this. So this is our new oil cooler O-ring. It is the same color as the other one before. Now I got this one from AutoZone. If you do Google your O-ring, then sometimes they can come up black, sometimes they can come up orange. I've seen some videos online where the black ones don't fit, they're not correct. So I will put a link to this one in the description if you have the 2005 Infiniti G35 with the VQ 3.5 litre V6. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and put our finger in some fresh new oil and simply coat the O-ring in this new oil. Now this makes sure this gives it a nice clean seal when we put it back into the car, so it's not dry, like so. Make sure you get every surface of the O-ring, outside, inside, everywhere. So now this is all oiled up, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and put this back into the oil cooler, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So now that we've oiled up our O-ring, we're going to go ahead and take our oil cooler, spin it around, and we are going to insert our new filter, our new O-ring, sorry. Once you've got the new O-ring in place, grab the bolt, put it through the middle and tighten it with your hands. So now that's on, what we're going to go ahead and do is grab our torque wrench, and we're going to now torque it down. So now that we have the oil cooler O-ring back in the car, before I do anything else, I'm just going to show you a quick little diagram on how you're supposed to put this back together. So as you can see, we have the oil filter right here, we have the bolt that we just took off, and the oil cooler itself and there is the O-ring that we are replacing. Now, you put the O-ring in the back of here, you then put the bolt in, but the specific thing that I wanted to say was this bolt needs to go down to 36 foot-pounds of torque specifically. So that's why I highly recommend investing in a torque wrench like that. They're pretty inexpensive. This is a Tecton one that I got off Amazon for around 30 bucks. So we're going to need to tighten that bolt to 36 foot-pounds of torque, and then we can put our oil filter back on. Wait for the click, like that. That means we've torqued it down to the correct spec. So now that's in, what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to put our oil filter back on. Now, if you have recently changed your oil, or you know that your oil filter has still got lots of life in it, then don't worry. Well, what we're going to go ahead and do is just, you can reuse your filter. Just make sure that you're not cross-threading anything. There's our oil filter going back on. We're just going to want to hand tighten this, like so. Make sure all of the pipes are all still on nice and tight, like so. And then we're going to go ahead up top and put the appropriate amount of oil back into the engine. So whatever oil that we lost, taking all the parts apart, what we're going to go ahead and do is put the equivalent oil in. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is, as you can see, we're putting the correct amount of oil back into the engine. Now it's kind of a rough estimate, so I'm going to put around a quarter or half a quart of oil back into the engine from what we lost on the floor below. So go ahead and put the new oil into the car. So I put around half a quart of oil back into the engine, and I'm going to go ahead and start it up. And you're going to want to start up the car, leave it, put the car back on the ground, start the car up, and then you're going to want to leave it running, let the engine warm up, let the oil all circulate, have a look underneath, make sure it's not leaking and you've done the job correctly. And that is how you replace the oil cooler O-ring on a 2005 Infiniti G35. If you have any questions regarding the video or how I did this or where you can get the tools, or the oil O-ring will be in the description. The torque wrench will be in the description too. So if you want to go and pick those up to do this job, please go ahead. Beware, as I've said twice before in this video, only get the O-ring linked in the description if your car is a 2005 Infiniti G35 Coupe with the 3.5 litre VQ V6. Be sure to check AutoZone, Amazon and other outlets as well to make sure that the O-ring fits your specific car. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found this helpful. Please leave a comment if you liked it. Also leave a like and consider subscribing and check out all my other videos. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day.